No, mai hoki mai anō, welcome back to Breakfast. Here's what's making news this morning. A humanitarian truce in war-torn Sudan has been agreed to by the Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces after 2 years of war between the RSF and the Sudanese military.
Police are warning of the harm alcohol can cause after 2 stores in the central North Island were caught selling alcohol to minors.
And the Black Caps have survived a scare from the West Indies, hanging on to win the second T20 by 3 runs.
16 minutes past 8. Cheaper fares could be on the cards for Auckland's tertiary students as Auckland Transport reveals it is doing work to see whether a further concession is feasible. The agency's comments come amid growing concerns that many students in our biggest city are skipping classes due to the high cost of the daily commute. A group of AUT journalism students have been canvassing the issue. Here's Charlize Tansey with the details.
Tagging on and off Auckland's buses and trains is no small change for the estimated 35,000 tertiary students who do so each week. But when money is tight, many say they're more likely to hop off and stay home.
Thank you. That's because I just don't want to be spending money that I could save.
I'm paying too much, also with other costs I have, with like rent.
They want students to be educated, and we can't get that education unless we go into universities and schools.
Even with a 20% tertiary concession, students can pay as much as $12 for a single return journey from the Auckland city boundary. With that price increasingly out of reach for many, AUT Student Hub has noted a rise in those asking for help.
Any increase to that discount and to extend it to all tertiary students would definitely be desirable at this time to ensure that students have full access.
Surveys at Auckland University reveal similar cost concerns.
I personally don't believe that students should be having to weigh, the trade-offs between coming onto campus or not coming onto campus. They achieve more when they're here on campus learning.
The growing concern over how transport costs are affecting student studies has seen student associations across the city create a petition calling for the rise in the tertiary concession to 50% of the full fare. So far, around 5,000 students have signed, their comments giving an insight into more of their struggles.
Having to spend 1/3 of my monthly budget solely on transport is just ridiculous.
I can't afford public transport, plus raising costs of groceries and overpriced rent. It's just too much to handle all while studying.
The cost for taking the bus to the city campus is the same as using petrol.
Auckland Transport last year implemented a weekly fare cap of $50 to ease costs for all travellers, and it says more work's being done on what, if any, further tertiary discounts could be applied.
For a tertiary student where money is tight and they're more likely to be on a budget and thinking about how to get value for money from their travel, we know that if we reduce the price, they might use it more often or be more likely to use the bus rather than drive or walk.
We'd see way more students on campus, and as well there'd be more students in the city, contributing to the lively nature that we want in Auckland City.
Students are hopeful of a cheaper return to campus in time for 2026.
Well, joining us now are 2 of the AUT journalism students who worked on this story, Charlize Tansey and Daniela Taylor. A big issue clearly for Auckland students. Daniela, why do you think it's causing so much concern this year in particular?
Because it's so expensive. Students are living outside of Auckland CBD in the suburbs, which means that they're travelling into university because it's so expensive that they're not coming in as much.
Yeah, there's a weekly cap of $50 on fares. Charlize, what have students said about the usefulness of this cap?
Morning, Chris. Well, $50 out of a student's budget is actually quite a lot of big proportion. They'd rather be putting that towards groceries, their water and power bill. So coming into uni can cost them up to $24, $36 a week. They'd rather stay home and save their time and money than actually come into uni. The fare cap is just not working for them.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Daniela, what wider benefit to the city would actually having more students travelling in bring?
Oh, it would have a huge impact. It would mean that students would be able to spend more money on local businesses in Auckland CBD because they're not super worried about how expensive transport is.
Charlize, you've also been looking at what other cities around the world do for students. What examples do you have of where you feel this is actually done pretty well?
Well, international studies have actually been able to create a transport system that works for students. If we look across the ditch in Sydney, they've created a fare cap specifically for students that equates to around $28 New Zealand. If we look in Queensland, they have a 50-cent flat rate fare, so you can travel across the state for just 50 cents one way. And even in places like Scotland, transport for anyone under the age of 22 is actually free. And speaking from personal experience, I was in Sydney not that long ago, and I was able to travel around the city quite easily and for a lot cheaper. And the benefits of that I saw was that the city was a lot more lively.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose one of the things, rent's pretty expensive, right? So people having to live a bit further out, it's costs a bit more to get into the city. Charlie Stanzi and Daniela Taylor from AUT, thank you so much to the both of you for your story and for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
Speaking of, sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, it was hard enough to even get, I mean, I remember having an Irish history class at 8 o'clock in the morning, and when you sort of set out your timetable at the start of the year, and 8 o'clock, that was a mission. I reckon I made 1 or 2 of those classes.
Oh,
it was all good. Potato famine was, pretty easy to pick up from home, but, it was a really tough battle for students. If you're finding that you're having to live with your family or further out, you're renting somewhere else, it's going to cost heaps to get into town.
Speaking of costing heaps,
yeah,
we're talking about mints.
Yeah, a staple for students.
A staple for families.
Mince on rice.
Mince.
Mince on toast. Gourmet.
Yes. Throw some can of baked beans. I used to throw a can of baked beans in with the mince. And,
oh yeah, fill it out like that.
Yeah, and have a bit of rice with it as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, we've been getting some feedback on what people are doing.